Hi, Scott Wonder here from Wonder Woods. Welcome to another Wonder Woods video. I am here on a nice sunny morning in March to get some trees. This job site that I'm on is being cleared for development, and the trees are just going to get cut up and hauled out of here, maybe ground up, I'm not sure. But the owner of the property, who's also a customer of mine, wanted to get some wood out of it. He's going to end up getting a few slabs, some wood out of it for sure, but he told me whatever else I want to get out of here that I should get out because it's going to be gone soon. So they started cutting the smaller trees. They've got a land clearing company, I think a arborist came in here and started cutting the trees. They need to have the trees down by March 31st, basically the end of spring, because they are clearing they're clearing 12 acres, but there's a certain number at which if you clear too many acres, that there's a situation with bats, endangered bats. So you have to have the trees down before then so that you're not killing bats that might be roosting in the trees. So they have a push right now to hurry up and get the trees cut down and on the ground before March 31st. It's now just about the middle of March, so they got a little bit of time, and they're getting on it though. They're hurrying up to get done. So I am going to come through here and salvage the trees that I can. They have been cutting the trees pretty high. You can see the ones behind me, they cut it about 3 to 4 feet high just so they can leave a stump for the excavator to push out. The bigger trees I'm going to try to salvage, I am going to cut, and I'm going to cut them lower so we can save the wood at the bottom. Now unfortunately, a few of the walnuts that are on here, they already came through and cut kind of high, which makes me a little bit sad, but the trees are free, so I'm not going to argue. Let's get to cutting. Here's one of the walnuts that they cut off kind of high. It's unfortunate because they left about 2.5, 3 feet on the ground. That's the best wood right there. So we lost that, but the rest of the log is still pretty big. It's not giant. It's 18 inches maybe, and about 10 feet long that I'll get out of this one, so it's worth getting. Here's one I already cut down. You can tell it's not the most beautiful walnut log, but it is pretty big. It's about, I don't know, it's about 24 inches in diameter. And I got a 12-foot log there, a 10, and another 10. And then behind me, right up there, you can see the 2 big white oaks that I'm definitely going to get. I didn't cut this walnut yet because it's leaning very heavily right there, right to the power lines for the house. The house is going to get torn down. Actually, I think they're going to burn it for a fire drill, but right now there's still power to it and they don't want me to hit the power. So that's staying for a bit. I'm definitely going to get these 2 white oaks, and I can get that one right now. It's leaning completely that way, and it's dropping into the ditch there, so that's fine. But this one is very tall, and it's leaning over to the road, and it's the spot now where it can hit that, hit 2 trees, and go onto the road. So that one's going to get cut a little bit later. I'm on the other side of those white oaks I was telling you about, so you can see how big they are. It's not giant, but it's pretty big. This one too. The main reason I'm interested in them is not only because they're big, but because they're really nice and straight, got good trunks on them. There'll be a lot of nice wood in these 2. Honeysuckle. I hate honeysuckle. I'm mostly going to get walnuts and white oaks, but there are a few other trees here that I'm going to get. There's a nice little cherry log here. They did a nice job of not cutting it too high. They left a little bit on the ground, but not too much. And then this elm log right here, I'm going to get that too. That elm log has a nice trunk and it's got a lot of burl on it, so I like that. It has not been cut yet because it's leaning right over the road. They're going to come in, the arborists are going to come in, they're going to top the trees, so that we can drop the trees, drop the stumps, the trunks, without getting into the road. So those will be cut later. There's a couple more walnuts like this one right here on this side of the property, but they aren't down yet either because this one's leaning right over the road, just like the other ones. In case you're wondering, the big ones behind me on the right is a red oak, on the left is a white oak. I'm not doing much with the red oaks, I'm going to probably leave those. And a white oak I might use, but it's pretty burly and not a great log most of the way down, so I might leave that. It's just big and ugly. I know you're probably thinking, well, big and ugly will make nice big slabs, but we've got a ton of white oak right now, and to cut more white oak slabs probably just doesn't make much sense for me. This walnut right here is decent, but if I drop in, it's leaning hard this way. It's gonna get hung up in that elm tree, which I might cut down, except it's got a giant widowmaker in the top. So I'm gonna stay away from that until some equipment gets here. I don't need to get hurt doing that. This is the biggest walnut on the property, and luckily they haven't cut it off yet. So I'm gonna cut it nice and close to the ground. There's a couple walnuts right here. They didn't look like much when they were buried in the weeds, but now that they're cut off and laying there, this one's kind of behind there, you can't see it very well. They're not too bad. This one looked really bad. It was dead all the way up this side, but there's a lot of good meat in there. Over here by the pond are a couple walnuts too. This one buried a little bit, it's kind of hard to see. It's probably about 20 inches in diameter, maybe 22, 24, and about 10 feet long, so not bad. I found another walnut right here. Looks pretty good. It's about 24 inches in diameter. It's got a couple logs there. And then up at the top of the hill, they cut down a bunch of white pines. We like white pine, I use white pine, but I don't know how much I'm gonna take out of here because it's not super valuable and I got other better things to grab out of here. I was a little sad that all these trees have been cut up high, but on the bright side, there's less of a chance of having a barbed wire fence in there. That's the first one. When getting ready to cut trees, people always ask me, well, how long should I cut them? And I tell them, usually, the tree will tell you where to cut it. This is a good example. It looks like a long log. It is. It's 20 feet or so, maybe 22. But right here, it's got a nice bend in it. So it clearly should be cut about right there, so when we're cutting lumber, we can get the maximum yield out of it. The other answer, when people ask me how long a log should be, I ask them, what are you going to make? Because obviously if you want to make a 12-foot conference table, you probably shouldn't cut your log at 10 feet. Now, most of the time, people, when they're asking me that, they don't know what they're gonna make, so they're just guessing. If that's the case, if you got a nice straight long log and you don't know how long to cut it, I will tell you that I like 9 to 10 foot. It feels like the right number to be able to get something halfway long. It feels manageable. It's nice to stack. It feels like it's in the right human proportions at 9 to 10 feet. That's no big deal. This log's going on the truck. My chainsaw will come right out.